Hello, I'm Matt Weston and this is Swamp Songs, and today we're going to look at the mix session for my cover of the Tea Party's Psychopomp from their 1997 album Transmission. So some personal history with this song. I've loved this song since it came out. I've seen the Tea Party live a ton of times, and I used to be actually in a Tea Party cover band for a couple of years. With a couple of good friends of mine, and so we've played this live, and years later I thought I'd come back to it and try to do a proper cover recording of it, just for fun and to showcase the piano a little bit and just challenge myself. So I started recording this last July, and off and on was working on it here and there, and so I finally got it done, got it out. Please watch the video. And now if you want to see how it was put together and mixed, here we go. So lyrically, the song is about, it's a Greek myth about a guy named Orpheus and his wife Eurydice. And the myth goes that Eurydice passed away and went to the underworld, and Orpheus wanted to bring her back. So he went down to the underworld and was very charming and had great musical skills, and was able to make a deal with the devil, I guess, to bring Eurydice back to the living world. The only condition was that he couldn't look behind him to see that she was still following him until they both got out. And so they went on this journey, and Orpheus gets to the living world again, looks behind him immediately, can't wait any longer, and Eurydice hasn't quite made it, and she fades away into the darkness forever. And the guide that guides Orpheus along this journey is called the Psychopomp. And so that's what the lyrics are about, and I wanted to take some of those thematic elements and kind of put them into the mix as well. So without further ado, here we go. This album is kind of the Tea Party's first foray into electronica, and so it starts with some noise that I'll play here. So this is just some white noise from Pro Tools signal generator. It's filtered both top and bottom. And then with Filter Freak, we've got a gentle modulation happening just to give it a little bit of life and make it not so one-dimensional. Along with this noise is an accent that happens on beat 1 of the bar. So again, it's the same white noise signal generator. It is filtered a little bit differently. And then the Filter Freak, again, gentle modulation, but a much different filter on it. Okay. So moving right along, the next instrument that enters is the acoustic guitar. And we have this lead acoustic guitar here. So this was recorded with a Peluso P12 and a Royer R121. And I'm just going to bypass all the plugins. So first we have, here's the P12 on its own. Nice mic. And the R121. Together. And to make sure they're perfectly in phase, auto align, and this is just moving the ribbon by 2 samples. Okay. So on the P12, and I'm gonna just put on, the compressor on the Submix anyway, so we can hear it a little bit better. But getting rid of some low mid an annoying resonant frequency and giving a little more shimmer. On the Royer, similar type of thing. Okay. And that's quite a deep cut there, kind of that nasal frequency so that the vocals can be heard a little bit better. And on the folder track, we also have a little bit more being taken out and a little bit more high end being added. The Magic Death Eye compressor is doing quite a bit. There's some open strings ringing out in this, and just to get everything a bit more even, we've got about a decibel of compression. And that's giving us some nice sustain. Okay, our effects sends, we've got Clear Mountains Domain, which is a short slap in this one. The EMT 250 plate. Sorry, not plate, digital reverb. And the LX 480. Okay, there is one other guitar happening at this time, and it's the exact same setup as far as miking goes. And this one is a little bit over compressed. Similar type of setup, but not quite as deep of a cut in the low mids, because this rhythm track I actually wanted to be a little bit beefier, have a little bit more low end, and it was going to be quieter in the mix, so it wasn't going to compete with the vocals as much. So there's the P12 EQ, there is the R121 EQ, and just so you can believe me and compare, there's the R121 on the first track. And we've got some low boost here, low mid, and then the Massenburg DRC, Dynamic Range Controller, and was still kind of figuring out how to use this one, so the ratio is a bit high, but in the context of the mix, I certainly didn't mind it. So if I play this back,
So
I found it worked well. We also have the Neold V76 plugin getting some saturation. So without, that's bypassed. Back in the context of the mix. Out. Again, you can hear it really just places it right where it needs to be. And again, that's going to the Clear Mountain Slap and Seventh Heaven Professional for some reverb. I think that's the Marble Room. Okay. So those are the acoustic guitars. We'll come back to the other guitars later. The next thing that enters is the piano. And the one kind of arrangement thing that wasn't true to the original versions here was in the guitar there's an A being played, A, G, A, in the rhythm guitar that I didn't put in. That was a conscious decision because I was going to put it in the piano. But then I decided to mute that part. So I recorded a lot of stuff for this that didn't end up getting used. But if I bring the piano back for that verse, here's what it would sound like. Anyway, didn't like it. So the piano literally just does that descending E minor scale starting on A throughout the song, and that's it. That's all it does. So I used a bunch of mics to record this, ended up sticking with only 3 of them. It's a pair of TLM 103s in kind of the Al Schmidt setup. and between them was an R121. So let's solo some piano mics here. So the first plugin here is Auto Align, and this is aligning the right microphone to the left. Bypassed. Engaged. Brings it a little more in focus. So here's the EQ. There's a lot of other stuff happening in the low end. We don't need it, but we do need it to stick out at various times. Magic Death Eye stereo. Not much compression happening, but really, really nice sound though to this compressor. And then the Avid Aphex Oral Exciter plugin. Adding some harmonics at about 64%. The ribbon mic is very low in the mix. But I am squashing it quite a bit with the DRC. And that's just helping it stick out in the mix a little bit more. On the folder track here, the Submix, we've got the Summit Audio Grand channel. So some gentle compression here, doing quite a lot with the EQs. So there's a boost at 180, there's a boost at 560, and there's a boost at 3.3 kilohertz. And that's a shelf in the top and bottom. Greg Wells piano-centric, just a touch of this. Little goes a long way, and delay and doubler have been taken off. And the Kazrog True Iron transformers. Let's hear that in the mix.
And you want it all.
So you can hear in the mix it stops being so pokey and just kind of sits a lot nicer with the other instruments with this in. That's on the Western Electric 111C. Okay, and then we've got our sends. It's a little bit of, tiny little bit of micro shift. LX480 for some reverb, and Magic Verb for some chamber. And so that pretty much stays the same throughout the song. There is some volume automation on the piano, and of course I play it a little bit differently depending on which section of the song it's in. So you can see by the waveform that I'm getting louder, and especially for the outro I'm hitting it pretty hard. So that's the piano. And then we get into some electronic stuff. So let's have a look at these electronic drums. So these are all, I tried a bunch of different electronic sounds for this, And I was looking up online, you know, what keyboards was Stuart Chatwood using at this time for this record, and I found that Roy Harper had given Jeff Martin an Emulator 2 keyboard and sampler, and so I started digging through that, the Arturia plugin, and found these sounds, and laid them out, froze them as you can see. The snare also has an arouser on it to keep that in check a little bit. Back on, that really brings it out, gives it a little bit of distortion too. You can see saturation is cranked pretty high. And the cross stick has a send to the Clear Mountain slap. Brings out some life in that. On the submix of these, got some resonant frequencies being dipped out, and some low end. We've got a lot of compression going on, and one of the things I was trying to do with this compressor on the submix was to make it so the hi-hats were almost like they disappeared when the kick or the snare was hitting at the same time, and then have them really pop out when they weren't. So if I bypass this, you can really hear the hi-hats the whole time, and I didn't want that type of sound, so this makes it so you almost don't even hear the hi-hats when the kick and snare are being played. Another EQ just to filter. This was probably, this was definitely in the mixed revisions. I would go and listen in other places and found, you know, there's too much high end on these drums, so I'd filter out some stuff with a new EQ. In a different version of the mix, you'll see I ended up on version 13. And here we've got a lot of transformer sound.
Guide you there.
Now we've got some crush station from Eventide. So that was a very integral plugin for the sound of that. And then a little bit of slap for the whole thing. Okay, speaking of the Emulator 2, so we've got some synth bass happening here. And this, when you listen to the mix, you won't even notice that this is there. But if you listen to the Tea Party's TX20 version of Psychopomp, this is a very prominent sound, and I wanted to sneak that in there, and it really does help with the feel of the track. So if I play the whole thing and mute this and then bring it back in, needs a little more forward momentum, and I find that does the trick. So this was a Juno plugin from Arturia. Juno? Jupiter? Juno. And taking out a bunch of low end. Gave it a peak so it would be heard. Got some R bass happening to add some harmonics so it can be heard in tiny speakers. The Moger Foger low pass filter. So without this, a little too much high end. Ooh, and there. And you can see the cutoff is being automated a little bit. And then we have a micro shift at the end. Yeah. I really love this sound, and it was hard to tuck it back so far. I almost wanted to just feature it, but needed to be in the right place. So along with that, there is a synth bass that happens during the choruses and throughout the heavier sections of the song. And this is strictly doubling the electric bass part. You can see it's heavily filtered. Then adding some R bass. And the G and F sharp notes are being brought down dynamically with EQ a little bit. That's just tucked in there. Okay. The string emulator 2 parts. Bypassed with EQ, with harmonics.
A frozen sun would guide
Just helping it be heard,
there
and a little bit of micro shift.
as the deep despair.
Okay, so let's go to the drums, and then the bass, and then the electric guitars. So the drums were done with my 21 mic drum setup, which is a little bit overkill, I think, at times. You can see here we've got on the folder track for the entire drums, we've got the fixed flanger mix automated, so that when there are cymbal swells and things like that in the intro of the song, they have a nice little movement to them. Okay. All right, nice. So on the drum submix, we've got some Phoenix tape. Usually I don't process this up to 75%, but I remember I was at around 45, 46, and I just needed to kind of soften the edges a little bit more. So I brought that up. Let's bypass the Phoenix, actually. Right. Clairphonic parallel EQ. Doing a lot. Okay, the arouser. Don't be fooled, the mix is down pretty low on this, about 25%. But definitely making them sound a little more aggressive. And we are also clipping just a little bit. Okay, so that's the drum bus. And then we've got kicks, snares, toms, etc. So the drums are auto-aligned, and I'm not going to go through that huge process with you in this video, but the kick is made of 3 mics, the snare is made of 3 mics, each of the toms is made of 2 mics, and so unless there's something different other than auto-align, which I don't think there is, we're just going to look at the folder tracks for each of the drums, and then we'll look at the overheads and the room mics. So on the kick, you'll hear a little bit of a slap if you're listening on headphones. That's the Clear Mountain. And I've got a parallel kick snare crush bus going on as well. So if I bypass all this stuff, that's what the 3 mics sound like on their own. And for gating, I go between the Sound Radix drum leveler and the Sony Oxford drum gate. I switch between them, and for this one, I'm using the drum gate. And so it really cleans it up a lot. Involution. Adding some transients, taking away some sustain. I don't think the drum gate, you really need to have a look at what's going on there, but you can see that I had to do some learn unmatch and remove matched on that. The decay might be the interesting part here, so okay, here we go. So you can see that most of the frequencies are being cut off at one point, and then we've got some low end hanging around 31% longer. Nothing going on with the leveler. So really decay and detection are the only parts I'm using. Okay. EQ. Finding some resonant frequencies. Ooh. And just getting rid of them. So without, with, tightens it up. The Kramer Helios, engaging 60 just to get a little more low end. And this circuit, you don't even have to boost. You just get a little bit more low end if you engage that, and quite a lot of boost at 2.8. Nice. Shep's Omni channel. This is making it sound more like a finished kick drum. So we got some saturation, even harmonics, 4 decibel thump. Gate DS are off, EQ is on, just some slight stuff, some slight tone shaping, nothing major, 1.2, 0.9, 1.7, 0.8. So not a lot going on, but a little bit, for sure. Pre-section is doing a lot. Comp. So that's really tightening up the kick drum there. FET compression, getting about 3 decibels of compression. And the limiter is on as well, as you can see. Notice the input and output has been brought down quite a bit. To try to avoid clipping. And then our bass so that it can be heard on tiny speakers. Kick, snare, crush, clear mountain. The drums for this record were recorded in, I think, like a loft building in Montreal, and they do have quite a roomy sound on them, so that's me trying to approximate some of that sound. Okay, snare submix. So similar settings on the snare, less mismatched and missed matches. Decay is up a little bit higher. And that's about it for the snare on that. Here's without any plugins. With the drum gate, with involution. Quite a lot of transient being added and sustain being taken away. I went with more of a fake room sound on this than the natural snare, but notice I got rid of a ton of ring. Okay. Shep's Omni channel, making it sound more like a finished snare. Some saturation, heavy, 2 decibel thump, high pass filter at 157, gate de-essing off, EQ quite a bit. Getting some nice smack out of that with the compressor as well. And that's at what, 75, 76% on FET again. And yeah, we've got a lot of tone shaping here with the EQ, 5.3, 4.1, 2.6, negative 2.6, and 7.2 at 180. Limiting is on. Without. With. Okay. And then lastly, Joe Ciccarelli. I got this Joe Ciccarelli plugin from Leapwing and was putting it all over everything, overusing it. And some of them stayed. So not doing a whole heck of a lot. This is like a API 560. You can see what's going on. This is Joe's heavy rock snare preset, though I think I adjusted it a bit. But you could always check. And then there's an API 550B type thing down here. Okay. That's the snare. Toms. So let's go to pre-chorus 3. That's where all the toms are being played. So on the Submix, EQ, compression, a lot of compression. Reverb. And some slap. So on each of the toms, other than being time aligned, they've got the drum gate on them. Obviously set on toms. Big freak. And doing some kind of crazy EQ. Trust me, I know this is extreme, but that's what I went for. That's how I got it to sound the way it sounded. So I needed something kind of crazy like this. I don't think they're, well, maybe they're all that extreme. That's the second tom, and then the third tom. Very similar processing on each of them. So on tom 1, just using the compressor, about 3 decibels, 90%, 94%. Same deal on the other ones. And again, the Joe Ciccarelli thing. So the Joe Ciccarelli plugin on heavy rock toms. So let's, for fun, bypass all these plugins. Let's see what they sound like. Not bad.
And you want it all.
Let's put them back on.
And you want
Little cleaner, a little tighter.
I'll give you something more.
Okay, overheads. Aligning the left to the right. Let's bypass all these and bypass the right side here. In phase. D-click. I find my cymbals, my sticks hitting my cymbals just sometimes give me some clicks that I don't like. So D-click is on there. EQ, getting rid of some resonances. Just getting rid of stuff I don't like. Involution, this is getting rid of some transients, bringing up some sustain. Again, a little trick to try to get rid of some of that clicky stuff. Omni-channel, de-essing. Only the top one looks to be doing anything. Just at 1.5. EQ, rolling off some low end in a couple spots. Yeah, and that's really helping quite a bit to clear that up. VCA compression, not sure it's hitting anything. Then the Joe Ciccarelli, bypassed. Back on. And this is on heavy rock overheads, and I probably adjusted it a bit. This goes to a couple submixes for crush, compression, and dirt. Hi-hat, mic that I barely use. Way low in the mix. D-click. Some resonances. Omni-channel. Yeah, we'll move right along. If you want to see the settings for whatever reason, you can pause it. Okay. Ride. The ride bell is important later on in the song at the end. So this is up a little bit louder than the hi-hats. But the only thing going on here, that's it. Yep. Okay. Mono room. This is maybe 4 feet in front of the kit. Getting rid of some resonances. And we are filtering out some top and bottom. Boosting some low, mid. Cutting some high mid. Cutting some low. And a little bit of compression. Okay, some stereo mics. These are about the same distance as the mono room, but this is a Blumline pair of ribbons. A lot of EQ. It's a nice sound, but needed them to be a little bit more distant, so taking out some top. And then quite a bit of compression with the DRC. And then a far pair of mics, a couple pencils, so that's without any effects. EQ, taking out some low, taking out some resonances, and squashing. Notice I'm really trying to get rid of the peaks with this. Okay, so the bussing on the drums. Let's have another look at that. So we've got the, whoops, that's just the kick, sorry. All right, so we got the kick snare crush. DBX 160, Root 1, without, with. Okay, Devil Lock. This is also getting a feed from the kick snare crush. So this is just kick and snare without, with. Okay, Drums Dirt. This is stolen from Andrew Sheps completely. Maybe right from his template, can't remember. But the cymbals and the rooms are going to this, like the overheads in the rooms. And Drum Crush, again, overheads and rooms. Without. So without these buses, just a little weaker. Okay, reverbs. Snare verb, let's solo that snare. So Valhalla Room. And then the snare plate, Valhalla Vintage Verb. Again, just trying to make it sound like that loft in Montreal. And then if we go back to hear the toms. Another Valhalla Room. Without, with. Okay, so other than that, I'm using a VCA to automate my drum volume. So basically bringing it up for some fills, making sure all the toms are heard in every fill, stuff like that. And of course, just trying to build intensity when the song needs it. All right, I think we're ready for the bass. So the bass is the Fender Jaguar. DI is just through the Neve Shelford channel. Amp is the SVT Classic in 810 with an EV PL20, which is basically an RE20 in front of it. So let's bypass all this stuff and solo the DI. Here's the amp sound. So in this case, I did not EQ them separately. I just put them together into a routing folder and EQ'd them together, treated them together. So first, the Surfer EQ, which I love. I've got it surfing on the fundamental here and giving quite a boost to all the harmonics. So and then we've got half the fundamental for the high pass filter. And that's it. Okay. Next, some compression. Lots of compression. Bypass. Then we got some R bass. Big Freak. And I think this is just trying to minimize the G and F sharp from being too overpowering right there. Okay. Again, exact same thing that this is doing, bringing out those frequencies, the G and the F sharp. Decapitator. You can see the mix is quite low, maybe 38, 40%. On N type, we got a high cut, drive at 6. So not doing a ton. And then, yeah, little micro shift to fill it out. And so, like I said, that's being doubled by a synth bass. So the two of them together. And without the synth bass. Okay. All right, moving right along. Okay, the electric guitars. I think that is what's next. So, in verse 2, we've got this vibrato guitar. So this is a Fender Telecaster through a Blues Deluxe, probably a 57 on it. Nope, 7B, SM7B. Okay, now here's what it sounded like without any plugins. Because I don't have any tremolo pedals. So EQ first. I got lots of low end from other stuff. I don't need it here. To bring up the sustain. And Tricera chorus. Just, that's a great sound. And then tremolator. Fender style to stick with my Fender combo. And I think I just completely copied that plug-in chain for the pre-chorus. Yep. Okay. So then we get to the first chorus, and we've got some distorted Telecaster, a couple of them, one on the right and one on the left. Okay, so for these, I'm basically doubling, and in order to make them stand out from each other and not sound phasey and weird, they're just processed slightly differently. So the one on the left, let's see, there's the EQ. One on the right, let's see, looks identical there, pretty much. Not quite, a little bit different. Most part the same. And then I'm using a different tape on the left than I am on the right. So there's the soft tube tape on the left. The Kramer, oh, sorry, I've got another EQ here on the right. So this is left guitar here. This is right guitar. And we've got just going through it. That's all. Let's see if it makes any difference. Slightly different. I'm not sure if it's just louder, but... well, actually, we've got the low frequency engaged, so that's doing something. Anyway, the tape on the right is the Phoenix. Okay. And then we got Joe Ciccarelli on both sides. Rhythm electric guitar. That's the left, and rhythm electric guitar on the right. Let's see. Same settings. So really just trying to differentiate the two through slightly different EQ and slightly different tape. And yeah. And these play throughout the rest of the song during the heavy sections. They're there. You can see when the really heavy guitars come in, I've got them coming down in volume a little bit to make room for that. Okay, so in the third pre-chorus, there's this crazy distorted guitar, this fuzzy thing. So that's actually a DI'd guitar, no amp there. I can't remember what pedal I'm going through, but it is the Telly. And as you can see, we're doing a lot of EQ, a huge boost at 3.16, big boost at 0.7, and some compression as well. And then we got the Joe Ciccarelli plugin on heavy electric guitar. And maybe some changes, maybe not. Here's without the plugins. And because it's a fuzz, it's quite noisy, so you can see that I trimmed around the notes. And actually, let's have a listen to those distorted guitars without any plugins on them. Hear how they sounded. Pretty close. Yeah, and a little bit different. Okay. Then we get into this guitar part, which I recorded 3 separate times, once on the Telly, and then twice on the SG, the second time after realizing that I'd missed a certain thing at the end of every 4 bars. So let's have a listen to this. This is Gibson SG 61 reissue through an Orange Tiny Terror and Marshall 4x12 1960A, and with an SM57. That one I'm sure of. Okay, so EQ, get rid of some of that low stuff. It's not necessary, but beef it up as well in the low mid. Get rid of a resonance a little bit. Okay, this one's more of a creative EQ, boosting a lot of mid-range, a little bit of low end. The rouser at 40%. Doing a lot of compression. Some more mid-range. And a little bit of space. So the 7th Heaven is panned all the way to the right. Same with the Clear Mountain, just to make it sound like it's bouncing off the other side. Okay, that's enough of my bad guitar playing. And here we go with the other lead part. This is also the SG, same setup. And that was just a little bit of a reverse effect at the start. Okay, dry. EQ. 1K on this one. This 7th Heaven all the way to the left. Clear Mountain all the way to the left. And then Echo Boy giving some repeats. Okay, some editing notes. The drums, you probably saw that they were all chopped up. And these were quantized to 50% just to tighten them up a little tiny bit. There was one spot where I did 100%, and that was just at the end of the drums, in like the electronic drums instrumental. The timing wasn't quite perfect coming out of that, and the feel kind of shifted a bit. So I did tighten up this one bar or two heading into verse 3.
So sleep tonight.
Yeah, and on the video, you'll see that I'm playing the octapad for those drums. Again, that's just for show. I programmed them into Pro Tools. I didn't play them, so sorry. But there's a cool sound in there, isn't there? And that instrumental, we should find that. So that is right here. That's an emulator 2. And going through Tricerachorus, it's an arpeggio. And then going through Tricerachorus. So that's the dry sound, kind of boring. Chorus. A little bit of rotary. And then the thing that really makes it stand out is the Moger Foger low pass filter. And this is automated. You can see the cutoff and resonance both moving in time here. And of course, it's panning left to right as well. Okay. Now, before we get to the vocals, I just wanted to give it its time to shine because it'll never be heard otherwise. Where are these guys? These harmoniums. I recorded a bunch of harmonium parts with the idea that I was going to use those instead of a synth for the string parts, the da 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 da. And I ended up not really loving it, but I need to just get it out there to show that it was done, and it sounds kind of cool. So just for kicks, here we go. Anyway, there, it had its due. And let's make those inactive again. We'll hide them. Congratulations, Harmonium, you were heard. Okay, so the vocals, I'm not the strongest singer in the world, and certainly I tried to sound like Jeff Martin, and I ended up sounding kind of like a bad Ian Curtis impression for some of this. And so I ended up just, doing what I could do and then putting a lot of plugins on it to just try to make it interesting. So I'll let you know how this is set up. I've got a lot of vocal tracks here. Basically, the verse has one part here, vocal verse, and it's a solo vocal with a couple whisper tracks. The chorus, each of the choruses is tripled. So there's a main part, and then it's got a double and a triple, quite a bit lower in volume, but just the same performance, different performance, but another take, doubled and tripled with it, just to fill it out a bit, to try to give it some power. So the verse vocal part, we've got some mouth D-click, working very hard. Some gentle MDW tone shaping. Well, you wanted this. There's the dry take. So sad. And this is on the SM7B. See. So mouth D-click. The sweet EQ of ecstasy. Some compression. And you want it all. Some more compression. You wanted this. And so sad to there's going to be some more compression later on as well, but let's get to the de-esser. The sweet decay of ecstasy. I like this de-esser. It does a pretty good job. Tape. You wanted this. And then the V76. So sad to and see. This has some compression going on it as well. Sweet as you can see. And some saturation. Of ecstasy. Okay. And then some Fuzz box. So sad to see the sweet decay. So this is really messing it up quite a lot. And that's just my own insecurities of my voice within the context of this song. So just needed to mess it up, make it a little bit more spooky sounding. Okay, the Shep 73. You wanted this. And finally, because my vocal's so messed up now, with all the tracks, or all the plugins, Soothe 2 to try to sort out the mess. The sweet decay of ecstasy. Okay, without anything. So sad to see. Yep. With everything. A little more interesting. Of ecstasy. There we go. And you want it all. Okay, so now along with that vocal, like I told you about at the beginning, this song is about like going into the underworld and dealing with demons and the devil and stuff like that, and trying to bring back your true love. So I wanted to kind of give that effect by having these whisper tracks going. So it's just a whisper of me saying the lines on the left and the right, hard left, hard right. And we got some mouth D-click and then some compression on these, on each of them. But then on the folder track, we're filtering out all of the bottom, a lot of the top, and then we have track spacer here, and this is getting a signal from the verse vocal. So when I turn this back on, you'll see you wanted this. And this is so that
so sad.
those whisper tracks won't compete with the vocal while the vocal's happening, and then this will stop, and then the whispers will have some more room.
You wanted this.
And then we've got the SSL
So sad
X echo.
to see.
I think that sounds convincingly spooky and underworldly. So that's happening just in the verses and the pre-choruses, or maybe not even in the pre-choruses. No, not in the pre-choruses, just the verses. Okay. Then we get to the chorus. Similar sounding treatment as the verse. We have no futz box now, though, so the vocals do kind of clear up a little bit. Here's the transition, actually.
And you want it all. I'll give you something more. And you'll fade away. One last kiss before you fade away.
So same first 6 plugins, and then the V76, I don't think I have as much saturation happening. Let's have a quick look. Oh, maybe I do. Maybe I do. Yeah, it looks to be about the same. But no futz box. There's the Neve, and then Soothe 2 again. Okay. And in this case, setting to the same stuff. But the doubles are definitely a little bit different. They don't have the Magic Death Eye. What else don't they have? They don't have the V76 on the doubles and the triples there.
I'll give you something more.
And those are just spread out a little bit, 11 to the left, 11 to the right.
And you'll fade away. One last kiss before you fade away.
Okay, so let's have a look at the effects I'm using. So you've seen some sends to the EMT 250, so there's that. The PSP I don't think is in use at all.
I'll give you
LX480 version 4. I think this is on the Rich Hall and Stage. Yeah, small Rich Hall and Stage HD. We've got the Abbey Road Chamber. I don't think that's being used.
Something more.
Magic Verb, short pre-delay, and on the beautiful smooth chamber. Oh, I need to update. Okay. Oh, please don't stay there. Thank you. Seventh Heaven Professional. Yeah, the Marble Foyer. Clear Mountains Domain, just a slap going on. They're 81 millisecond. Left and right offset of 10 milliseconds, it looks like. Echo Boy, which was pretty integral to that outro guitar part. And micro shift send. All right, so the only thing left to talk about is the summing and the routing and what's on the master bus. So if I take you through the mix window really quickly, you will see that our noise, accent, and constant are through output 1, 2. Our drum bus is also output 1, 2. Our electric drums right here are output 1, 2. And then we get into the bass. They're out 3, 4. Piano 5, 6. The emulator 2 stuff out 7 and 8. The acoustics are out 9-10, and most of the electrics are out 11 and 12, but it looks like the chorus distortion guitars are out 9-10 as well. Vocals are all out 13-14, and effects sends or auxes returns, I guess, actually are out 15-16. So then we have a print track here, and on a few of the outputs I do have limiting going on just to avoid clipping on the output. Okay, so basically we've got 8 stereo pairs going out and then into the Neve Orbit summing mixer. We're dropping the output a little bit, and we've got red silk on 50%. So that's upper end harmonics. And if I play the loudest part of the song, you'll see that we've got a healthy level going to the left and right, but occasionally you'll see some red blinking, indicating that we're getting near or we actually are saturating a little bit. From there we go into the Custom Audio Germany HDE 250A High Definition EQ, Matt Weston Special Edition. And this is in mid-side mode, so mid and side. We've got our amplitude at the top, frequency, and Q at the bottom. And we also have input and output transformers. So I'll switch out the transformers first. And after that, we're going into the Rupert Neve Designs master bus processor. And this is channel linked. So A is in control of both A and B. I've got this set up pretty much like an SSL G comp. So we've got an attack of 30 milliseconds, a release of 100 milliseconds. And the blend actually is only at about 60%. We've got a sidechain high pass filter at 125 hertz. And we're at a ratio of 1.5 to 1. And we've got some silk blue here. So this is some low mid harmonics being added. And let's see what that's like on and off. In addition to that, we've also got these the stereo field enhancement editor. And so we've got depth EQ. Sorry, we're not using the EQs actually on here, but we've got depth and we've got width. And so without... Okay, so let's bypass all the outboard together. Well, not the summing mixer, but EQ and compression and stereo field editing. Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of automation going on as well. You can see on the vocals, automating a lot of the volume. Some of those effects really bring out breaths and things like that. And yeah. So I hope you will check out the video, the complete song, and have a listen. Let me know what you think. And this has been a fun project for me, so I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks very much. I'm Matt Weston. This is Swamp Songs. See you later.
Swamp songs, swamp songs, swamp songs. Audio time, like and subscribe. Swamp songs.
Ribbit.